Hello, Dr. Sue. It's so nice to have you on the show today. How are you doing?
I'm doing so well. Thanks for having me, Elijah.
Beautiful. And thank you so very much for being here. You see, I truly appreciate you. And you see, Dr. Sue, oftentimes I love to thank my guest for two things. And I do this so often to the point where it has become my anthem. So, firstly, Dr. Sue, I want to say thank you so very much for investing in yourself. You see,
Hmm.
you are on this platform right now because you did invest that in yourself. And oftentimes, Dr. Sue, I love to make reference to the amazing mango tree. You see, some couple of months back, I was on a particular road, and just by the roadside, Dr. Sue, there was this very tall, unattractive mango tree. And I used the word unattractive because the mango tree's got no mangoes on it, and the leaves were all dry. So I just walked past it and I went my way. But you see, Dr. Sue, just recently I was on that same road, and this time around, a lot's changed about the mango tree, you see. The mango tree caught my attention pretty good from a distance, and immediately I got the urge to move so close to it, of which I did, and it wowed me. Because now the mango tree's got a lot of mangoes on it, beautiful green leaves and healthy branches, and not just mangoes now, Dr. Sue. I'm talking about ripe mangoes. It was such a lovely experience that day. I was so excited. Here is my point. The fact that you dedicated your time, energy, and resources to becoming the amazing Dr. Sue that you are today, that alone has made it impossible for me to skip you. And that's why you got a request for me to be on the show because I was attracted to the fruit of all that you're doing. Your philosophies, your insight, the impact your work is having, how you're offering your solutions, Dr. Sue. These stuffs are amazing. And just before I sent you that text, that request, I said to myself, I've got to benefit from these beautiful things Dr. Sue is doing, and not only me now, but even with the audience. And here we are today with the amazing Dr. Sue. So thank you so very much for doing that yourself. And secondly, thank you for saying yes to the invite. Because if you had said nope, there was nothing Elisha could do about it. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Elijah. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you too. So let's get started. You see, I'm quite excited to have you on the show today for two reasons. Firstly, my interest in knowledge seeking. I believe in order for one to transition from a terrible situation to that of a beautiful one, Dr. Sue, I believe it takes the application of knowledge, quality information. And you see, ever since I discovered that light in the Hebrew means knowledge and darkness ignorance, I've been so keen to knowledge seeking. Why? Because I do not want to remain in the dark. So that's going to make our conversation today very important to me and even to the listeners. And the second reason why I'm excited to have the incredible Dr. Sue on the show is for the sake of the audience. You see, Doctor, we live in an age where information is as abundant as grains of sand. We've got lots of information flying out there. So these folks trust me for quality, eye-opening, and very important information, of which I am totally convinced, Dr. Sue, that our conversations going to be insightful and impactful. So for that reason, let's get started with your introduction. Talk to us about your personal or your professional journey, because right now we are so curious. We want to know how Dr. Sue got here. Then afterwards, I've gotten some beautiful questions for you. Okay, Dr. Sue, over to you.
Okay, let's make this short and sweet and to the point. I got here because I followed my heart, really. That's how I got here. I got into medicine um, and became a doctor because my mom is a nurse and she inspired me to go into medicine. And through my pursuit in medicine, I thought I wanted to be a psychiatrist because I love human behavior and the study of psychology is my favorite part in undergrad, and neuroscience was my favorite part in med school. And so I thought you combine those two together and you get a psychiatrist until I went and saw what psychiatry was at the time and knew that was not for me. And I've always loved kids, so I became a pediatrician. And through this practice of learning about pediatric medicine, I somehow realized that I don't quite fit into the mold of what what the standard pediatric practice was. And so I created my own from the beginning. I created my own pediatric practice and have been doing that for 23 years on helping kids heal through nutrition. So that's my main focus. And all along the ways, the moms were always saying, well, how can you help me? Dr. Sue, what can you do for me? And so I've gone through a series of, now it's probably been a good 15 plus years of working to figure out how to help them through different businesses. So I've started and stopped 4 businesses on helping women, primarily because I would either want to do this and it would miss the mark, or they would want this. And I was like, nope, don't want to do that. And so I finally just put it all down and said, I don't know, I'm just going to finish out this pediatric gig and let it all go and just trust that that's what's meant to happen, because I just can't figure out how to really help women. And then lo and behold, I followed another breadcrumb and just followed my heart and opened up an email and watched a video and then attended a 3-day seminar, which led to a full year program. And then all of a sudden I realized, wow, I'm going to do this coaching thing for women. And I love it. I just threw it out and tossed it out to my email list and said, who wants to be coached? And 5 women said yes. And then we were off to the races and it was fun.
Amazing. That's a beautiful one. You see, the part you mentioned that you're helping kids through nutrition. I love that. And that's a great one. And
Mm,
what you're doing for women too, it's amazing. But I'm still curious. All right. I want you to talk to us about it. How exactly do you help women?
yes. So basically, I help women in their 40s, 50s, or 60s, what we kind of term as midlife, um, really sustain happiness because this part of our life is has a lot of change in it. We can think of it like adolescence. Like, do you remember being an adolescent, Elijah?
Yeah.
And the hormone the hormones cause you to physiologically feel different and create different emotions. You're also really figuring out who you are in the world and kind of staking an identity. It's also a time in adolescence where you're maybe forming new relationships, learning about intimate relationships, or maybe letting some relationships go. And I feel like midlife is very parallel to that. You know, women are going through changes in relationships, maybe just rekindling with the partner that they have now that the kids are gone, maybe separating, you know, maybe recovering after divorce. They're also changing relationships with their kids, right? Because they're no longer the mama, right? They're shifting into, I mean, they're always the mama, but their kids are growing into adults with independent thinking, and it creates differences in the relationship of how to navigate that. So a lot of relationship changes. And then also a lot of identity changes, like when your kids leave and then you're like, well, what am I? What's my purpose? Why am I here? Or maybe one career is ending and you're thinking about doing something that's really that you're passionate about, if your career hasn't been totally fulfilling. So there's a lot of changes that are happening, and I help them navigate through that change.
Wow. And that's a great one you're doing because I feel like it's so important. A lot of women actually need help in that area. Thank you for the beautiful stuff you're doing, Dr. Sue. So you used the word rekindle, okay? So can a marriage be rekindled in midlife? I want you to talk more on that.
Mm, yes. I love relationships. I think all relationships are spiritual teachers. And I believe every relationship is a spiritual contract. And some contracts are lifelong contracts, and some contracts are not. And so, how I really help women rekindle relationships midlife, and not just intimate relationships with their partner or their spouse, also relationships, you know, with their kids too, or anyone that you want to be in a relationship. And I do it through a framework that I learned from Tony Robbins called the 6 Human Needs. It's from 6 Human Needs Psychology, where, Elijah, we all share the same 6 human needs. but we prioritize them differently and we meet them in different ways. So these 6 human needs are the needs for certainty, our need to feel certain that we're comfortable, that we're safe, that we'll feel more pleasure than pain. But if everything's so certain, we get bored. So we also have the need for variety, which is like the spice of life, something different. We have the need for significance, which is being seen and heard and needed. And then we have the need for love and connection, love being unconditional acceptance, and connection being a part of something, a belonging. And then we have the need for growth and contribution. So one of the ways that I help couples, and I only work with women. I don't work with couples together. I'm working with the woman. Is to look and evaluate what are if those 6 human needs that I mentioned, certainty, variety, significance, love and connection, growth and contribution. Like Elijah, what would you say are your top 2 needs?
Number one, growth and
Yes.
significant. Yeah.
Yes. And you can see that, like it's reflected in your life. I would say that's so spot on, Elijah, because like you are growing, like you're growing this podcast, you're growing this platform. And I love growth. It's one of my top 2 needs too. And significance is also about being seen and heard. And we are on these podcasts, aren't we? We're
Yeah.
seen and we're heard.
So true.
So I love that. I feel like that's really spot on. So I asked the woman, what are your top 2 needs? And she answers. And then I said, what if you had to guess, what do you think the top 2 needs are of your partner? Right. And one of the things that we see is that in order to be in relationship with anyone, Elijah, if I want to be in relationship with you, I get to meet your need for being seen and heard, right? And meet your need for growth, right? So one of the ways that you and I would really continue our relationship is because we love growth. We love to learn. We love to expand mentally, emotionally, spiritually, right? So if I want to be in relationship with you, I get to meet that need of yours, right? That helps me lean into you, right? So when I ask her, what are your top 2 needs and how are you getting those needs met? Are you meeting them inside the marriage or are you going outside the marriage to meet those needs? What are the top 2 needs of your partner? Are they meeting them inside the marriage or are they meeting them outside the marriage? So you can see if you meet each other's needs, you're leaning into each other. If you're meeting those needs outside of the marriage, you can see how that drives the marriage apart. Does that make sense?
A whole lot of sense, I tell you. And that's a great approach. How come I never thought about that?
That's
That's a
right.
beautiful one. I got that.
It's so
So,
good.
yeah, I tell you. So let us talk about stress, okay? So how do you break out of a constant stress cycle?
I think the thing with stress is that we seem to just keep piling it on based on what we're focusing on, right? So if I'm in a stressed out state, I'm usually focused on what's not going right versus what is going right. I'm usually focused on what I can't control versus what I can control. I'm usually focused on, worried about the future or reliving some past, right? Rather than being in the present moment. So, one of the ways to get out of a stressed out state is to shift your focus and catch yourself, right? So, when I'm like in a stressed state or frustrated or whatever, I'll just say, Sue, are you focusing on what you can control or what you can't control? Are you focusing on what's already going right or what's going wrong? Are you focused on the future, the past, or actually being in the present moment? And usually one of those 3 things, I'll catch it, right? So that's one of the ways is just catching where is your focus right now. The other is to really shift the meaning, right? So usually when we're in a stressed out state, we're saying things like this sucks, this always happens to me, why can't I get this to go right, right? Versus saying something like what's great about this? What's great about this is, right? And then start riffing on what's great about this. One of the things that's what's great about any challenges or obstacles that come your way is that you are growing your soul, which I believe is soulful medicine. Soulful medicine are things that feel good and joyful, right? And sustained happiness. there are also things that are really stretching our soul to grow us. And those can come through obstacles, that are really opportunities for us to grow and then to turn around and give that gift after we learn our lesson.
Amazing, Dr. Sue. Now I see why you're just so good at what you do. And I tell you, your clients are so privileged to have you as their coach. You're such an
Mm,
amazing woman. So we have two more to go, okay? So let us talk about, there's this one, I'm so curious about this. It says, what is a tarot numerology? Got it?
mm,
Yeah.
yes. So, tarot numerology is a combination of tarot and numerology, which are basically really kind of fit into looking at the world of like the hidden, what's hidden, what what are the patterns that are hidden. And we know from personal development that the vast majority of our thoughts and our feelings, our beliefs, our rules, they're hidden, they're in our subconscious, and yet they're driving our habits, they're driving our behaviors, they're driving our results. And so, if we want to change our habits, change our behaviors, and change our results, we get to know what's hidden. And so, these are really tools that I use to dive into the hidden patterns. And the patterns, are they're to me like tarot. I love combining the two because tarot has numerology within it, it has numbers within it. And I think of tarot, which started out as a deck of playing cards and now has all different associated meanings with it, really as a neutral tool to be able to look at something to access your subconscious. So, one of the ways that we access our subconscious is like through meditation, through staring at a flower, or for you, the mango tree, right, Elisha? Like, you were like, get up and close and like look at it, right? And all of a sudden, like your whole perception changed, right? You saw it in a different way. In psychology in the States, we had this thing where, you look at an ink blot, like it's a white piece of paper and with a black thing mob on it. And you say, what do you see? Because your work, it was a tool that was used to access the subconscious. And so
Hmm.
I do the same thing with a tarot now. I just say like that's one of the ways that I access is like, what do you see? And I do it in a systematic way based on the person's birthday and what month or period of time we're in their lifetime, right? So I kind of center and ground it, but in essence I'm using it as a tool for them to access their subconscious.
Subconscious. Okay, now I understand that. So finally, what is one single tip for handling tough conversation?
Well, there's a lot of tips in there, but in essence, I think the biggest principle of all in having a challenging conversation is doing the inner work first before you have the conversation. Meaning like all of life is a mirror for us. So if I'm want to have a conversation, like a tough conversation with somebody, it's usually because we're myself or the other person, or maybe just myself, is activated or triggered around something. Something feels unresolved and right? And so I have to first look at that and say, what's in it about me? Like, what am I making up the meaning of? Like, this happened, and then what are all the beliefs that I'm saying about myself or about the other person around that? And that's why I say, like, you're really owning your own stuff. You're owning and taking on responsibility before you go have the conversation. But there's a lot of steps in having a connected conversation or a challenging conversation. It's really, but the principle is first do the inner work and then show up being love, like being loving, like what would love do? What would love say? Right? Because in essence, we're all love. Our natural state of being is love. And that's why it feels so challenging when we're disconnected from that. So when we get to back to a loving space, we can ask like, what would love do? And we know what love would do because we know we are love. And
Yeah,
so we know what love would do and what love would say.
awesome. I got that. And I'll take that as a final thought. So for folks who would like to reach out to you, Dr. Sue, or even ask you questions or open your programs or services, how can that be possible?
Yes, thank you. DrSueMcCreadie.com, my website, DrSueMcCreadie.com. is the best way to reach me. So thank you so much, Liza. I appreciate this opportunity.
Beautiful. So that's going to be the end of the show, Dr. Sue. Thank you for coming and thank you for sharing this beautiful stuff with us. It means a whole lot. Thank you.
Thank you.